Hi guys, welcome back and happy Friday. So, it was a crazy night last night between the show and the feeds. Spoiler alert, Tiffany won the HOH for the second week in a row, minus the circle of doom or darkness or whatever that Claire had won, where she was the anonymous HOH. I was surprised last night that when Sarah Beth and Alyssa were talking, like in the DR or wherever, not to each other, but separately, that they didn't know that Claire was the anonymous HOH. That kind of floored me. I thought for sure, I know the Cookout knew, and I thought for sure that would have gotten out, but apparently it didn't. And next week, so we're not getting the triple eviction that was supposed to be on the 13th or the 16th. Apparently that was a lie, but it's even better because we're gonna have a double eviction next week, followed by a second double eviction the following week. And we will have Zingbot coming into the house on Saturday, and we will see that play out on Wednesday's episode. So I'll just give like a brief recap of the episode. So we open up to Xavier talking alone to the cameras, whatever have you, about Alyssa, and he's saying, "What are you doing? You're on an island." True. But Alyssa doesn't realize the circumstances she's in. So she doesn't realize that her final two, her plus one, whatever you want to call it, is in a big alliance without her. So bless her heart. And Alyssa is oblivious that he's going to have to go on the block with her if she goes on the block again, which is happening at the moment currently. So all hell breaks loose in the house. Apparently, I didn't see any of this happen. I think it happened Wednesday. I don't know. I typically don't watch the feeds like in the afternoon, their afternoon. But so I guess Derek F and Alyssa were on the hammock, Derek F and Hannah were on the hammock together, and Derek F saw a beetle. He freaked out, and he catapulted poor Hannah off of the hammock onto her head, onto the base of the hammock. Oh my goodness. So they checked her out and everything. I think she's fine. But while this was happening, they were making dinner, and everybody was running outside to see what was going on. And Azza was cooking steaks in the, I'm assuming it was the broiler. And the whole oven was on fire. Azza was very calm, and she got the fire extinguisher and she put it out. So, okay. Next, they're discussing who will be the first to go in Cookout. Well, this is what Julie told us, but that never happened on the episode. But it did happen later on in the feeds. So, and then we see they finally had their first meeting with all of the Cookout members. This happened about a week ago, but they finally did all get together. They had to go wake Xavier up. He was sleeping. He goes to bed early. And then afterwards, Xavier, Kylan, and Derek F meet in the Have Not room to discuss it further. They have a final three. Next, we have Kylan and Tiffany talking. They're saying they have to get rid of Derek F and then Xavier. Tiffany agrees to take Kai to the final four and then the final two. I don't think that's going to happen, especially, for the days leading up to this, I don't think that's going to happen. And after last night, I really don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll happen under whatever circumstances, they'll be forced to do it. But no, I don't. Well, who knows? Who knows? I'm wrong about everything. Who knows? And then Tiff says alone to the camera that she would go to the final 2 with Kyland, but she's also good going with Hannah. Tiffany does have a much more believable final 2 with Hannah, and I think that's the way that she would prefer it, 1,000%. So now we go to the jury house. Derek X arrives to Brittany. Brittany's shocked because Brittany's convinced that the 2 best players, best competitors in the house were Christian and Derek X. He shows her the DVD, and he tells her how regretful he is with his last week because he had so many opportunities to save himself but did not. And he tells her he was really confused when he was doing his one-on-ones and his arguments weren't taking hold anywhere. And then he saw the goodbye messages, obviously, particularly from Kyland. And I'm paraphrasing here. Kyland says he's been working with a bigger group the whole time, and they're holding fast the entire game. So then Derek X talks about how he figured out the whole +1 thing. So now we have the speeches for eviction, and Sarah Beth, again, everybody play for your individual game. That seems to be a running theme. Kylan shouts out to his family and friends. Keep me if you feel good about our one-on-ones. And then Tiffany does give Sarah Beth the sympathy vote that Kylan has been begging her to do, because all last week, Kylan was trying to get, his strategy was to get off of the block so that because he wanted to give Sarah Beth a sympathy vote. So he got Tiffany to do that, and then we have 5-1, Sarah Beth leaves. And then we have her talking to Julie, and she says people saw me as more of a threat. I mean, this is kind of all irrelevant at this point. And Sarah Beth says that she knew that Tiffany was the secret vote when Julie had asked her about it. So now we go into the HOH comp. So this is the one with where you put your feet on the disc and you're on a rope and you have to hold on, and you're bouncing around and you're getting thrown into the wall and things are blowing bubbles at you. And it's called Flying BB Nose. Okay. So we're still in the episode. They're closed. They put them all on there. Then they go to the commercial. We come back from the commercial. Derek F has fallen from his rope, and shortly thereafter, Alyssa falls from hers. And I think Alyssa was getting motion sickness, like from the spinning, because it looked as if she didn't feel well. And so now we're watching the endurance comp on the feeds. So next, Claire drops. And the first 3 people to drop are have-nots. So next, Claire drops, and she couldn't have won the HOH anyway because she had to throw it because she was disqualified because she had won the Circle of Doom or Circle of Circumstance, whatever it's called. So next, Hannah drops. Next, Xavier, and then Azza. And now it is Kyland and Tiffany alone. Couple things. So I guess there was kind of a plan set in motion. There was a contingency plan if there was an endurance comp, and I think they were pretty sure it was going to be an endurance comp. And Kyland and Xavier had kind of told or asked Tiffany if it's between you and Azza, let's just let Azza have it. But it's Tiffany against Kyland, and this is becoming a small battle of wills, like it was last week between Kyland and Xavier. Now, Tiffany doesn't want to drop. She doesn't want Kyland to have a third HOH, and she doesn't want Kyland to be the HOH because Kyland speaks in riddles, and it's very long, drawn out riddles, and he's not the easiest to communicate with in the house, and his ego is getting to be a bit much. So Tiffany doesn't want him to win the HOH. So she wins it for the second week in a row, which I was looking on BB history on the Twitters, and I think that's the first time that that's happened where it's actually like a back-to-back week. I realized Claire was in the middle, but I think that's the first time that that's happened according to Twitter, but Twitter's not always right. They're rarely, well, they're often right. So, and this is interesting too, because you have the men in the cookout are constantly complaining that the women aren't pulling their weight. And so last week we had Tiffany won the HOH, the question comp. We had Claire win the anonymous HOH. We had Hannah win the POV, and then Tiffany again last night. So I think that part is over. So the feeds cut again, and then after about, and the comp. So here's my question, like if anybody's even watching this. So my question, the endurance comp lasted for 25 minutes total. Do you guys remember when the comps would, like old school Big Brother, the comps would last for hours? I mean, I remember this spinny thing is a repeat. Like they have it every summer. And surely I remember like people up there for like 3-4 hours. And like remember Evil Dick and what was the guy's name? The guy that had like the surfboard company or something. I mean, they went at it for like all throughout the night. And then Kaser like was on that button for like a day, like in that greenhouse thingy. I thought 25 minutes was not that long. I mean, I couldn't do it, but yeah. Do you guys remember that when they were like really long and drawn out? Because people were just holding on for dear life and they were not going to let go. But then again, it's a big group. They're all working together. So the feeds cut for 20 minutes and they come back. Claire and Tiffany are, they're kind of celebrating in the sea glass bedroom, but Tiffany's very worried that X is upset with her because she won. Because he does not want, he knows she's not going to nominate Claire to go home. And the only options at this point to go home are Claire and Alyssa. So Xavier knows that Tiffany's more than likely gonna nominate Alyssa, which means he's gonna have to go up because he's her +1. There's a lot of talk all throughout the night. There's a lot of frustration between everyone really, other than Tiffany and Hannah, to be honest. But there's a lot of talk about Xavier is saying to people, well, that's fine. Let her put us up, and then I'm gonna throw Alyssa the veto, and then Tiffany will have to vote Claire out. She'll have to do the renum, And it would be very unfortunate and very uncomfortable and awkward. Tiffany actually goes to Hannah about this a little later, and Hannah tells her, she said, yeah, you can't pussyfoot around it. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. She doesn't use the word pussyfoot. That's like a old word. But you're just gonna have to straight up tell her that she has to go. And this is not gonna be good for Tiffany's game at all, period. Stop. It's not gonna be good. It's gonna make Tiffany look like a bad guy. It's gonna be bad for her jury management. But on the other hand, do you guys love when I like go through these thoughts in my head and process them while I'm talking? On the other hand, I mean, I think Claire knows. I mean, she and Derek X had conversations about it. I think Claire knows there's a bigger plan in place here with the cookout. She has it somewhere in the back of her mind. So she might just be okay with it. I don't know. I mean, not okay with it, but you know what I mean? So, anyway, they're talking about the HOH, Claire and Tiffany, and Claire says that she knew Tiffany had it, and Tiffany was holding strong. Like, she was fine on that rope, and Kai, when it was between her and Kai, well, even before, when it was other people too, Kai was maneuvering himself. Poor guy. He just looked like a pretzel up there. Tiffany was just completely standing still, straight. And Kylan just couldn't get himself positioned properly on the rope. And obviously, that rope competition is built for a smaller female, which really surprised me with Alyssa, but I think it was the motion sickness. She didn't say. So now we have Tiffany and Xavier talking. She says that if she has to put Claire up, she will. And Xavier says to her, he said, well, wait, didn't you make a deal with Alyssa last week that you wouldn't put her up this week? And she said, no. That was only good for last week. Xavier's very confused. So then they end their conversation. He goes to Alyssa, who's very defeated. And she's on slop again. And she backs it up. She said, no. That was just for last week. That wasn't for this week. So, no. So now we go to Derek F, and he's very frustrated that he's won nothing. And he kind of goes to the measure of saying that Big Brother is working against him. They're not. These are the same comps. I mean, we have Zingbot coming on Saturday. We had the OTEV. We had the rope thing. There's probably going to be the slip and slide. These are all, these games, these competitions are in repetition every season. But he's very upset that he can't win anything. Okay, so now Alyssa and Xavier are talking. And Alyssa says, it's either me or you. And one of us is going to come down. Kylan's going to go up. Maybe. She's very upset. She says she can't do the fake anymore. I don't blame her. And she's crying about the slop. She starts physically crying, and she's worried about her weight. She's a teeny tiny thing, and I guess like the 2 other times she was on the slop, it really affected her. Claire's talking to the camera. She says, Alyssa, Xavier, you're going up. Yes, they are. And then we go back to Derek F, and he's talking about Kylan. Derek F is very upset last night. And this didn't get resolved until like 4 hours after the feeds came back. He feels like Kylan is letting him down because he didn't come to check on him or anything. And he didn't. He didn't. And they're very close. And I'll give it to Kylan. Kylan was probably very upset that Sarah Beth had gone home and he was having his own feelings. But Derek F is not happy about this. Alyssa says Tiffany's not buying any BS that Kylan is selling. He's ignoring Derek F and sucking up to Tiffany. This is true. We have Azza. She's sad. She's in the boat room. She cries a little. Xavier and Derek F come in and they ask her if she's okay. She says she's fine. She just needs to gather herself. She said she really wanted to get a letter from her mom and dad with the HOH. Poor Azza. Poor Azza. Okay, now we have Xavier and Derek F talking. We're like bouncy all night, so sorry. I'm just trying to do it in a chronological order. So Xavier's mad at Tiffany. He just straight up says it, and this is when it all comes out, and then for the rest of the night, he's just venting about this. He says it should have been him, Derek F, Kylan or Azza that won the HOH, preferably Azza. He thinks it's selfish. Now, a couple things. I don't know that it's necessarily selfish because I feel like, well, Tiffany did get her HOH taken away, but she also got her cake and got to eat it too because Claire was the anonymous HOH. So she did feel cheated, but then she also wasn't going to let Kylan win. And it was just the two of them remaining. So I guess you could take any argument either way with that. And Xavier's saying it was Claire's turn to go home, meaning not Alyssa's. And he says if he wins the POV, he's taking Alyssa down. Now we have Tiffany and Xavier talking. Tiffany says that if it had just been her and Azza left up there, she would have given it to her. But she just couldn't when Kylan was the only option. And Tiffany also makes the argument that she's okay with Claire staying because Claire doesn't win anything. She's not a threat. And Xavier counters that argument with Alyssa is way more impressionable than Claire. And this is true. And then Tiffany counters that with the fact that she controlled Claire's secret HOH. Again, true. She promises Xavier that she can get Claire to do whatever she wants. And she says she can't let Kai get any further before Xavier goes home. Does that make sense? Basically, she wants Kylan out before Xavier. Next, Tiff goes to Derek F to give him a hug and comfort him. Now we have Tiffany talking to Kylan. I mean, you talk about fake. This is so fake. She's saying now she has to nominate Alyssa and Xavier. And if Xavier comes down, she's going to nominate Derek F. Well, can't really do that, Tiffany, because you're in the cookout and you're going to have to nominate Claire. Next, they're discussing Xavier, Kylan, and Tiffany. Tiffany warns Kylan to not let his ego get in the way of underestimating Xavier. And this is The heavens parted. Someone finally said it. Because last week we saw that whole thing where Kylan and Xavier were butting heads, and it was all ego driven. And sometimes Kylan can't see what's in front of him because he thinks he's a bigger or better competitor. And I thought that was really nice of Tiffany to point that out, just to keep that in your back pocket. I don't know that Kylan's gonna listen. But, and then I should also mention, I didn't mention this last week, but last Saturday, after the POV, Xavier and Tiffany were having a conversation. And it was a very casual conversation. But Tiffany told Xavier that she knows there's no way that he's a bartender / model. Like, he's far too intelligent. He goes to bed early. He couldn't possibly keep those hours. Like, he's always thinking 6 steps ahead. Not that you can't be highly intelligent and be a bartender, but you know what I'm saying. And he's just, he was so uncomfortable. And I thought that he might just tell her, but I don't think that trust is there. I know Sarah Beth came clean with Kylan about the forensic chemist, because I heard her talking about like how they would get like cocaine samples like shipped in, and then they would test them against like the people's drug panels. I know I heard her say that, but they didn't really talk about it. And the thing is, at this point, does it really matter that Xavier's an attorney? No. I mean, but I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to bring that up after she had brought that up with Kylan, that don't underestimate him. Okay, now Tiffany and Claire are talking. They're discussing Kylan's ego. They're saying, how can someone think like Kylan does? And I get it. But again, you're in the Big Brother house. You're playing a game of a social game with strategy. So that's just how Kylan plays his game. Let's see. Okay, Tiffany leaves because she's gonna get her HOH room. So she goes to the diary room, and then Hannah comes to talk to Claire. Claire is very worried about the guys sticking together, because statistically, on past seasons of Big Brother, that's usually the way. It's usually bros before, you know. So, and Claire's worried about Alyssa, and that she can lie really well. So Tiff gets her room. It is around midnight their time, 3 a.m. my time. So I don't have a whole lot left, but she gets pictures of her kitty cats. She gets another new picture of her son in his band uniform for high school. And then she gets a picture of like all her friends and family together, her cousins and grandparents and mom. And so everybody gets to see her mom. She gets sweats, scrunchies, White Claws, socks, a bracelet, and sushi. And a Chris Brown CD, which holds no candle to Beyonce, I'm just saying. I think she tried at some point last night, she tried to go back to the diary room and say like, oh, can I get the Beyonce CD back? Because that probably would have cheered Derek F up. It probably would have cheered Derek F up some, but they did not. They gave her what they planned to give her for her second HOH. So later on into the night, we have Xavier and Derek F talking. Xavier is still venting. He is very angry. He thinks that everyone is playing this game selfishly. And in my opinion, this is just a battle between who doesn't want to let their +1 go. So I don't know that they're remembering the grand scheme of things here, because if Alyssa doesn't go home this week, she's gonna go home next week. Same with Claire. So hopefully they can just come to some resolution with that. But anyway, there you go. There's my recap. If you're new here and you've made it this far, consider hitting the subscribe bell on the all sides so you'll get all notifications, and remember to hit the like button. And thank you guys so much. Love you. Bye.